Hello again. It's so good to see you. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Callie, and I've come to help you find some tingles and relaxation today. As you've probably seen from the title, I'm doing something a little different than my last video, and I'm going to show you in tutorial form how I do my makeup in the mornings. I'm going to try to do slow movements and gentle movements when I'm doing it for you, and when I'm doing something that doesn't make noise, I'll voice something that sounds cool, like stipple or tap, and I hope that brings you some tingles today. I thought before I start the tutorial I would do a little brushing of the mic and the camera so you can join me in the tutorial. As we get ready together. This is one of my favorite brushes. It's a big, fluffy powder brush from Sephora. You may notice that the light quality has changed from the beginning of the tutorial to now. That's because it started storming partway through my filming, and I'm using outside light today. Now, I'll turn it over to my makeupless self, but I'll let you know that I already had moisturizer and sunscreen on because I ran errands before I filmed this today, so you won't see that process, but I'll show you the moisturizer I use, and I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Alright, so why don't we go ahead and get started with the makeup tutorial. As I said before, I already have on moisturizer. I use Neutrogena oil-free combination skin moisturizer. It's very nice for daytime use. It's not too thick or too moisturizing. It's the perfect amount of moisture. And I do have combination skin. I tend to get very oily in my T-zone and on my cheeks. And then I have dry patches pretty much everywhere else. I think it started to rain. It might sound cool. I also put on some sunscreen. It's just a Murad sunscreen intended to keep your face and wherever else you apply it safe from damaging rays. So, the next step is primer. I use Yves Saint Laurent, I think that's how you pronounce it, Touche Éclat Blur Primer in a fancy glass bottle that actually tends to be a little difficult when you get down to the bottom. I had to use a clean chopstick to get down there before, so I don't waste any product. It has this beautiful shimmer in it, intended to help blur out imperfection and reflect light light to bring radiance to the skin. So I just apply a very small amount all over my face and onto my neck. It creates such a nice, smooth surface to apply the makeup to, which is what primer is for. I'm going to wipe my hands on a clean cloth. Primer is intended to create a surface for the makeup to adhere to that is not just the skin. This adds a little texture and a little extra perfecting. Alright. Next step I do, and not everyone does it in this order, but I put concealer on. I use Urban Decay's Naked Skin in the lightest shade they have, because I have very pale skin. And I usually just use it under the eye here. Spots I want brightened. And then I'll put it near any blemishes I want to cover up. I do half of my face at a time, so it doesn't dry up. And then I use a beauty blender. And just tap, 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 tap. Blend that into the skin. And I get a little onto the eyelid there. Look up and get underneath it there. Make sure it's really well blended out. And then I actually use a separate, smaller beauty blender around areas that have blemishes to try to avoid pulling that to other areas. I have suffered in the past from cystic acne, and I don't ever want to risk causing that to flare back up. I'll go back in and gently tap and really get that makeup blended into the skin. And then I do the same on the other side. Just put a little underneath the eye for a brightening, and then just near the blemishes. I don't actually want to touch them because this wand goes back in to the product, and you don't want to pull that in because that's nasty contamination. And then just tap, 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 tap. Really blending that in to the skin, getting it nice and smooth and incorporated in a way that blends with your natural skin. And then I'll switch to my little beauty blender to blend out the makeup on my blemishes so that it doesn't contaminate it. Alright, and I think that's the concealer done. So my next step is foundation, and I use Tarte Rainforest of the Sea. Rainforest of the Sea. And this one, you're supposed to shake. And you can't really hear it on the mic, but it makes fun noises when you shake it. I use their lightest shade as well. And this is a pump, which I really think is a nice, more sanitary way to set up makeup. But it tends to get very covered. And what I do is I put a little on my hand, and I take my beauty blender and just put a small amount on my forehead and start there. And I don't have any special knowledge about makeup. I only know this from trial and error and personal preference. I also usually put a headband on, but I just pinned my bangs back today. Then I'll do a tiny dot on my nose and put the foundation in the center and pull it out from there using the beauty blender. Again, just tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. Take it a little more. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. Really blending that into the skin. Gotta get nice and smooth and even. I'll get the last little bit and use that on my chin. Bring a little down onto the neck. So you don't look like your head came from somebody else's body. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. Nice. Alright. And then I take my clean cloth and wipe off the excess so it's clean. And close that back up nice and tight. So we don't let it dry out because I do have oily skin, is I take a powder from MAC Select Sheer Pressed Powder. And using a different portion of the small beauty blender, I powder the areas that tend to crease. Use a brush from Tarte, which has a nice big fluffy head to it, and get just a small amount, tap it down, and gently run that over the rest of the face. Setting the foundation, setting it so it doesn't slip and melt as the day goes on. This is a nice fluffy brush that I really enjoy using, but it doesn't clean super well. As you can see, these edges have started to extend above the rest. But you have to clean your brushes for very sanitary reasons. And I will close my powder. A little harsh sound, hopefully it's not too loud. Put that back. And then I take my giant box of makeup where I keep stuff that I like to use more regularly, like eyeshadows and bronzers, even though I don't use bronzer very much. I have some I've gotten as gifts or in an Ipsy or Birchbox subscription, depending on which one I'm using at the time. And I'm able to there we go. I'm able to take this with me when I travel. And inside it's very full, so I have to be very careful with this. I have a mirror from Sephora that I will use to see more close up during some of the application process. And my favorite eyeshadow palette at the moment, Tartelette in Blue. Which I will use later to apply on my eyes. But in the meantime, I'm going to start by putting a little shape back into my face now that I've evened everything too much with foundation. And I'm actually going to use this Urban Decay eyeshadow in Buck because it works best in my personal opinion. for the purposes I have for it. Tap a little off. Stipple, 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 stipple. Stipple, 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 stipple. And blend, blend, blend. Blend, blend, blend. Blend, blend, blend. I'm using this to add that cheek bone definition back into the face. And help add shadow where there should be shadow. And then I use it right along the forehead, just a little bit. Stipple, 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 stipple. 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 To add a little shadow there as well. And I'll put it right along my nose to add shape and definition again, and just swipe, 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 blend, 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 blend. And that's all I do with that. I put it back. This is one of my favorite brushes to use. It's nice and soft and doesn't even application. And then I come in with this big fluffy brush right here and blend, 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 blend. And next I do blush, and I actually use a beauty blender for that as well. This one is a little stained because I continuously use it for my blush instead of a brush. And no matter how many times I wash it, the pigment doesn't come out. So I'm going to use this MAC Beauty Powder Blush in the shade Alpha Girl, which is a nice pink peach tone. Has a little spot where I've gouged a little out. Take that blending beauty blender, get just a little on, and tap, 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 and tap, 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 tap. It's hard to see the blush on the camera. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. And I'll close that one. Put it back. And then take the same big fluffy brush and blend, 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 blend. So that it's nice and natural. Just a little added color. And then the next thing I do in my own personal process is eyebrows. I use this MAC brow line brush, or brow liner. It has its own spoolie brush on it in the shade Fling, and it's this nice taupe color that just helps me define any areas of my brows that are sparse. Don't add too much in there. I just help along the areas where the hair has had a little hard time in the growth process. As you can see, one of my brows tends to get a little more sparse at the front than the other. It needs a little more assistance. I'm going to go ahead and open my mirror so I can look a little more close up at what I'm doing. Because the way it looks on camera and the way it looks in person is kind of different. But not too different. Alright, that's nice definition there. And a little shape to it. And then I take a spoolie brush that I have separately because this one broke off and I don't want to break it further. And I just gently blend that in so it looks a little more natural. Just a little on the more natural side. And I'll take a peek with my mirror. Make sure that it looks presentable in person as well. And then I take this brow setting gel, also by MAC, Pro Long Wear Waterproof Brow Gel, in the shade, it's 5:30, in the shade, it'll focus, maybe it will, Toasted Blonde. And I just take a little bit of this and use it on my brow so that my brow hairs stay in place and do a little better job of matching my hair because my brows are not the same color as my hair. And again, I'll take a peek with my mirror and try not to cover my entire face. And we're finished with the brows. And I actually also have a newer product to me called Wonderbrow, which is a ridiculously long-wearing brow. I don't know if I would call it gel, but they call it gel. And it's very thick and very long-wearing. And on days when I work, I tend to wear that because I'll be out of the house for a long time and it's hard to know what might happen during the day. So, now that we have finished the base of the face, that rhymed, I'm going to take this Tarte Smooth Operator Finishing Powder, which is very finely ground. I'm going to open it up. I love the way they sound together. And it's very white, so it's hard to see, but I already have some out. And I'm going to take this dense, fluffy brush. All of the brushes I use that have this pink on it are from Bub's Beauty. She's a YouTuber, and I love her videos, and felt like this was a really great way for me to support her. And then it says sculpting, but I use it to apply my setting powder. I'm going to tap it to get the product into the brush a little more, and then I just apply that all over the face. Thin layer. Don't want too much, or it'll appear white on camera. And we don't want weird white patches all over. fresh face of makeup. And I will close that back up. I love packaging on this. Dark brown with the gold accents. A little path. What tree trunk? I always assumed it was a path, but it looks like it could be a tree trunk. Alright. And the next thing I do is to prime my eyelids with this Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion in what looks like a fancy potion bottle. And I just take a little of this, and this is a very old bottle. And I put a little on both lids, plural, and then blend that out, blend by tap, 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 tapping. And I use my ring finger, and on this I can be ambidextrous. Pardon my neighbor riding by on a loud motorcycle. I use my ring fingers because it's the most gentle. It's the most gentle finger you can use for the process. Because they're the most weak of the fingers, I guess. I don't know how. I've heard that's the right thing to do, and it has the most padding. Random bit of knowledge. Then I will open my Tartelette palette. I'm going to use the color Funny Girl. I'm just going to use my finger to tap, 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 and tap, 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 and put that all over the lid. It's nice and natural. And it's a great base. On days when I work, I will use this MAC bleached out beige waterproof pro long wear color stick as a second primer. It's a nice beigey color because it really does help my makeup stay put for longer. But I will not be going to work today. After I finish this, I'm just going grocery shopping. So then I take this very lovely MAC Enchanted Forest metallic eyeshadow. Oh, it's raining really hard now. I guess I don't have to water my plants. And I'm going to use this MAC brush with it. Nope, it's not MAC, it's Sephora. And it is a really nice brush for eyeshadow. Just take a little here, tap it off, and just lay that right underneath the eye. Oh, it must be riding a motorcycle in this rain seems like a terrible idea. Do the same on the opposite eye. And then just put a little right. I'm going to grab this mirror again and just lay that right down in the crease. Just enough for definition. And I know some people choose to use a matte shade for more definition in their crease, but I have fallen in love with this color, and it is almost always my color of choice because it brings out my blue eyes. And then I will use this Bubby blending brush and just blend, 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 that's about the extent of the eyeshadow I use on my eyes. I'll close that up. Nice little click. And I use this MAC shade if Floof, which is a really fun name for an eyeshadow in my personal opinion, which is just almost white. It's this really very, very, very light pink color that works well as kind of a highlight for me, but I use it in my inner eye corners, and I just use my finger, my pinky finger this time, because it's small enough to get in there. And I always make weird faces when I do this part. I like to look around my finger as I do it, and you can just see that really brightens up the eye in a nice way. And then I take whatever's left and just put a tiny bit under my brows as a highlight. And some people like to use highlighters on their face in high points, but I have such oily skin that I prefer not to use them because I try to get my face more matte, and it feels counterproductive to me to put shimmery highlight on my oily face. So I choose not to do that most days. So my next step is a tiny bit of eyeliner, if I choose to do that. And I think I will show you today what I've been doing, because this has been my go-to like the past, I want to say a week and a half, 2 weeks. I use this Luxe Doubler Scone Cosmetics eyeliner. It's a brand I received in my Ipsy bag a few months ago in this nice burgundy shade, and I just put a tiny bit right along the edge of the lash line for a little pop of color. And this eyeliner really goes on so smoothly. You don't really have to push on your eyelid or pull it taut. It just does its job, which is nice, because many makeup products claim to do a specific job and they don't do it very well, but this one does. And that's all I've been doing for eyeliner. Sometimes I will take a darker mahogany shade from this Tarte palette right down in here. I'll mix some of these together and use that in the same place, but this way is just much quicker. And I feel like it does just as good of a job as the eyeshadows. It's not quite as long lasting because it is a liner that has more of a charcoal type style of, what's the word I'm looking for? Formula, that's the one. And the shadows are meant to go on the lids, so they work really well. Anyway, my next step is to curl my lashes, and I am all about lashes, so I usually curl them up a lot. I like the drama to come from my eyelashes. And I just do both sides, I do pulses. I don't really hold down too long in any given go, because I have heard horror stories of people accidentally ripping out their lashes, and I don't want that to happen. And I get down close to the lid, but I never get the lid in there because, ouch. And then my go-to shadows have actually been two different shadows. This very battered, colossal Chaos Lash Mascara, and I'll just put a little on the upper lashes to start so they will hold the curl I just created with the curler. And I will wiggle it back and forth to really coat the lashes with product. And I'll give that a little time to dry before I put any on the bottom. Sometimes I'll take my mirror and blow on them or fan them to help them dry quicker. That makes some cool noises when I swirl it. And I'll take the same brush, I'll flip it over so it's curved down. And I'll just put a little bit, wiggle. Just put a little on the bottom lashes on each side. And right now is when I wish I was ambidextrous in everything, so that I could more easily get to the lashes on either side. I feel that way during many different parts of a makeup application. And I have this neat little tool that is in this little packet I have over here with a few brushes I don't use very often, that is created to brush through your lashes and help add definition. And if they ever get a little clumpy, I go ahead and use that. And then, oh, you can see my mic. I put it there so I could whisper to you guys a little better. Then I have this Star Wars limited edition from CoverGirl waterproof mascara. Oh, may the force be with you. They're a collector's item, but I personally feel like it's silly to buy a product and not use it, especially when it's as cool as Star Wars. I can keep the package after I'm finished. I only ever bought the one because I have to use waterproof mascara because I have very watery eyes. Whenever I laugh, I cry. And I take this and I do the bottom first so I don't have to wait for it to dry the tops. And I put a little on the bottom. This one is more lengthening than the colossal one. That's more voluminizing. And then I go in on the top. And just wiggle through the lashes. And this applicator is really nice to help add length and definition between the lashes. So it's a great way to finish off the lash look. And I really enjoy eyelashes. I don't know why, but they're one of my favorite parts of makeup application. And then I'll take this little comb and comb right through them so that they're defined. And it looks like I have a little clump right there. Perfect. And that is the finished look. So when I am finished, I take this Urban Decay De-Slick Makeup Setting Spray. Oil control. Give it a little shake. Open it up and spritz. Just a little on my face to help keep the makeup set all day long. And the final finishing touch is lips. This This is by MAC. It's just a nice lip gloss. Very natural. Adds a little shimmer, sparkle, pink definition. And there you have it. My makeup look to help accentuate my features the way that I like them to be accentuated. I hope this was relaxing for you and that you were able to relax, find some tingles, and hopefully get some sleep if you were fighting sleep today. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again in my next video. I would love to hear what your ideas are. Feel free to leave suggestions and requests in the comments below. If you would be so kind, I would appreciate a subscription. That way, every time I post a video, you'll be able to see it right away. I'll try to post more evening time in my time zone so that it'll come up at the right time when you're getting ready for bed. But that might not work for everyone, since I know there are many different time zones. So hopefully you'll be able to use this whenever you need to relax, and it will come and find you at the right time. I hope you have a lovely sleep or nap or day if you're relaxing in the middle of your busy day. And I'm very excited to share more tingles with you in